Population growth models, exponential and logistic growth 1. Detailed lecture. Population growth models describe how populations change over time based on birth rates, death rates, and resource availability. Two fundamental models in ecology are exponential growth model, logistic growth model 1. Exponential growth model. Exponential growth occurs when resources are unlimited, allowing a population to grow at a constant rate per capita. It follows the equation dn dt equals rn dt dn equals rn where dn dt dt dn equals rate of population change over time n equals population size r equals intrinsic rate of increase birth rate, death rate t equals time. Key characteristics. Growth is density independent, meaning it does not depend on population size. The population grows rapidly without constraints. The curve is J-shaped on a population versus time graph, typically observed in species with high reproductive potential in newly colonized habitats. Examples in nature. Invasive species, e.g., rabbits introduced in Australia. Bacterial growth in a nutrient-rich environment. Humans during the Industrial Revolution before growth limits became apparent. Limitations of the model. Unrealistic in nature as resources are finite. Does not account for competition, predation, and environmental constraints. Cannot sustain long-term growth due to resource depletion. 2. Logistic growth model. Unrealistic in nature as resources are finite. Does not account for competition, predation, and environmental constraints. Cannot sustain long-term growth due to resource depletion. 2. Logistic growth model. Logistic growth considers resource limitations and carrying capacity K leading to population stabilization. It follows the equation dn dt equals rn k minus nk dt dn equals rn k minus n, where k equals carrying capacity, maximum population size an environment can support. Key characteristics. Density-dependent growth. As population size increases, growth rate slows. Initially resembles exponential growth, but slows down as n nears k produces an S-shaped sigmoidal curve on a graph. Population oscillates around k in real-world conditions due to fluctuations in resources and predation. Examples in nature. Paramecium in laboratory cultures. Initially grow rapidly but stabilize due to limited space and nutrients. Deer population in an enclosed reserve. Increases initially but stabilizes as food and space become limiting. Yeast in fermentation vats. Grows quickly until nutrients are depleted. Comparison of exponential versus logistic growth feature exponential growth logistic growth graph shape J-curve S-curve. Population regulation no limit. Unrestricted limited by carrying capacity K growth rate constant increase declines as K is approached. Resource availability unlimited limited. Examples bacteria, early human population growth animal populations, plants in a fixed area 3. Real-world application. Conservation biology, helps predict species recovery rates. Pest control, understanding growth patterns aids in managing populations. Fisheries management, sustainable harvesting relies on logistic growth principles. 2. Previous year's GATE questions on population growth models Q1, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2018. A hypothetical population exhibits logistic growth. If the initial population size is small n, how does the per capita growth rate 1? NDN DT N1. DT DN. Changes n increases. A increases linearly with n. B remains constant. C decreases linearly with n. D first increases and then decreases. Answer: D first increases and then decreases. Explanation. In logistic growth, the per capita growth rate R is highest at low n, but as n approaches k, resource competition reduces the growth rate. The population grows fastest at an intermediate value of n before stabilizing. Q2 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2020. A researcher is studying a newly colonized species on an isolated island. If the species follows an exponential growth pattern, which of the following is most likely true? A. The population will grow indefinitely without limits. B. Growth rate depends on the carrying capacity. C. The population will experience rapid increase in early ages. D. Growth rate decreases when population size is very low. Answer: C. The population will experience rapid increase in early stages. Explanation. Exponential growth occurs when resources are abundant, leading to an initial rapid population increase. However, in reality, limiting factors such as food scarcity eventually slow growth. Q3 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2016. For a population showing logistic growth, at what population size does the growth rate reach its maximum? A. K carrying capacity B. K2C when n equals 1 n equals 1 d when n equals 0 n equals O. Answer: B. K 2K2. Explanation. In the logistic growth model, population growth is highest when n equals K2. N equals K2 because enough individuals are present for reproduction, but resources are not yet highly limiting. Conclusion. Exponential growth occurs in unlimited resources but is unsustainable. Logistic growth is more realistic and considers population limits. Many natural populations oscillate around carrying capacity due to external factors. This concludes the population growth models topic. Let me know if you want any modifications or if you're ready for the next topic. Heart. You said, next. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Population ecology, carrying capacity 1. Detailed lecture. What is carrying capacity? Carrying capacity K K is the maximum population size an environment can sustain indefinitely, given available resources: food, water, shelter, and environmental conditions, space, predation, disease. It determines the limit of a population's growth in logistic growth models. It determines the limit of a population's growth in logistic growth models. Key factors influencing carrying capacity. Resource availability: food, water, and shelter limit how many individuals can survive. Environmental conditions: climate, temperature, and habitat conditions affect population size. Competition: intraspecific within species and interspecific between species, competition for resources. Predation and disease: high predation rates or frequent disease outbreaks can lower K. K. Human activity, deforestation, pollution, and habitat destruction can reduce a species' carrying capacity. Graphical representation of carrying capacity. In the logistic growth model, the population initially grows exponentially but slows as it reaches K. K, forming an S-shaped curve, sigmoidal growth curve. dn dt equals r n k minus n k dt dn equals r n k. K minus n when n is small. K minus n k approximately equals 1. K minus n k approximately equals 1, meaning near exponential growth. When n nears K. K minus n k. K minus n k approaches 0, slowing growth. If n and gt, K. N and gt, K, resources become overused, leading to population decline. Types of carrying capacity. Ecological carrying capacity, the sustainable limit set by the environment. Economic carrying capacity, the number of individuals that can exist without affecting human economies. Cultural carrying capacity, the population size that a society considers acceptable. Examples of carrying capacity in nature. Wolves in Yellowstone National Park. When wolves were reintroduced, the elk population initially declined due to predation. Over time, a balance was established, setting an ecological K. K for both wolves and elk. Rabbits in Australia. When European rabbits were introduced, their numbers exploded, exceeding K. K. Later, the introduction of predators, foxes, and diseases myxomatosis reduced population growth. Deer populations in forests. When predators are removed due to hunting, deer populations may exceed K. K, causing overgrazing. Starvation and disease later reduce the population back toward K. K. Changes in carrying capacity over time. Climate change, rising temperatures alter ecosystems, shifting K. K for many species. Urbanization, expanding human populations reduce habitat space, lowering K. K for wild species. Technological advances, in agriculture, technology has increased K. K for humans through better food production. Human carrying capacity. Unlike other species, humans modify their carrying capacity via technology, e.g., irrigation, medicine, industrial farming. Right pointing arrow increases K. K. Overconsumption, deforestation, pollution. Right pointing arrow decreases K. K. Population control measures, birth control, policies like China's one-child policy. Right pointing arrow can regulate population near K. K. Human populations often exceed local K. K but use trade and resource import to maintain growth. However, unsustainable resource use could eventually reduce Earth's K. K. 2. Previous year's GATE questions on carrying capacity. Q1 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2017. Which of the following statements about carrying capacity is correct? A population will never exceed its carrying capacity. B. Carrying capacity is fixed for all populations. C. If a population overshoots carrying capacity, it can later decline due to resource depletion. D. Carrying capacity applies only to non-human populations. Answer: C. If a population overshoots carrying capacity, it can later decline due to resource depletion. Explanation: many populations exceed K. K due to sudden resource booms, but once those resources are overused, starvation and competition cause population crashes. Q2 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2021. Which factor is most likely to reduce an environment's carrying capacity for a species? A. Increased birth rate. B. Migration into the population. C. Overexploitation of resources. D. Increase in genetic diversity. Answer: C. Overexploitation of resources. Explanation: overharvesting food, deforestation, and pollution reduce available resources, lowering K. K. Other factors A, B, D may affect population size but do not directly reduce K. K. Q3 GATE Ecology and Answer: C. Overexploitation of resources. Explanation: overharvesting food, deforestation, and pollution reduce available resources, lowering K. K. Other factors A, B, D may affect population size but do not directly reduce K. K. Q3 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2019. Which situation best describes a species living at its carrying capacity? A. Population increases exponentially over time. B. Birth rate is higher than death rate. C. Population size fluctuates around a stable limit due to resource availability. D. Growth rate continues increasing despite resource shortages. Answer: C. Population size fluctuates around a stable limit due to resource availability. Explanation: natural populations rarely stay at an exact K. K value but oscillate near K. K based on food availability, predation, and competition. Conclusion: carrying capacity K. K defines the maximum sustainable population size of an environment. Populations that exceed K. K face resource shortages, leading to decline. Human activities can increase or decrease carrying capacity. In the long term, overpopulation or resource depletion leads to population crashes. This completes carrying capacity. Let me know if you're ready for the next topic. Heart. You said, next. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Population ecology, population interactions 1. Detailed lecture. In ecosystems, species do not exist in isolation but interact with other species. These interactions can have various outcomes, influencing population growth, survival, and the structure of communities. The 4 key types of population interactions are predation, competition, mutualism, commensalism. Each type has unique effects on species and communities. Let's explore each interaction in detail. 1. Predation. Predation is an interaction where one organism, the predator, hunts, kills, and consumes another organism, the prey. This interaction is vital in shaping population dynamics in an ecosystem. Key aspects of predation. Trophic levels. Predators are typically secondary or tertiary consumers in food chains. Effects on populations. A predator-prey interaction can directly regulate the population sizes of both species involved. Prey population dynamics often follow a boom and bust cycle due to predation pressure. For example, the lynx and snowshoe hare populations exhibit periodic cycles due to fluctuations in food availability and predation. Adaptations in prey and predators. Prey defense mechanisms, camouflage, mimicry, toxic chemicals e.g., monarch butterflies. Predator strategies, speed, stealth, teamwork e.g., wolves hunting in packs. 2. Competition. Competition occurs when individuals of the same or different species vie for limited resources, food, shelter, mates, negatively affecting all participants. There are 2 main types of competition. Interspecific competition, competition within the same species. Interspecific competition, competition between individuals of different species. Key aspects of competition. Competitive exclusion principle. According to Gauss's law, 2 species that occupy the same niche cannot coexist indefinitely. One will outcompete the other, leading to the exclusion of the weaker competitor. Example, in experiments, Paramecium aurelia outcompetes Paramecium caudatum in a laboratory setting when both are grown in the same environment. Resource partitioning. Species involved in competition may adjust to exploit different resources, allowing coexistence despite competition. For example, different bird species in forests may feed on insects in different parts of trees or at different times of day. 3. Mutualism. Mutualism is a relationship between 2 species where both benefit. In mutualism, both parties gain an advantage that improves their chances of survival and reproduction. Key aspects of mutualism. Types of mutualism. Obligate mutualism. Both species are highly dependent on the other for survival, e.g., lichens, composed of fungi and algae, cannot survive alone. Facultative mutualism. Both species benefit, but do not rely on each other for survival, e.g., bees and flowers. Bees pollinate flowers in exchange for nectar but can survive without the flowers. Ecological importance. Pollination. Bees, bats, and butterflies pollinate plants, helping them reproduce while getting food in return. Nutrient exchange. Mycorrhizal fungi exchange nutrients, like phosphorus, with plant roots in return for sugars. 4. Commensalism. Commensalism is a relationship where one species benefits while the other is neither helped nor harmed. Key aspects of commensalism. Example. Barnacles and whales. Barnacles attach to whale's skin, getting access to nutrient-rich waters while traveling. The whale is not affected by the presence of barnacles. Cattle, egrets, and livestock. Egrets feed on insects disturbed by grazing livestock. The livestock are not affected by the presence of the egrets. Importance in communities. While commensalism does not necessarily alter the population size or dynamics of the unaffected species, it can contribute to a dynamic structure in ecosystems where multiple species interact. 2. Previous year's GATE questions on population interactions. Q1 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2019. Which of the following is an example of interspecific competition? A. 2 different species of birds feeding on different parts of the same tree. B. 2 species of plants growing in different environments with no interaction. C. 2 species of ants fighting for the same food. D. A lion hunting a zebra. Answer. C. 2 species of ants fighting for the same food. Explanation. Interspecific competition refers to competition between different species for shared resources, food, space, etc. The fight between the ants represents this. 2. GATE Ecology and Evolution 2016. In a predator-prey interaction, what happens when the prey population decreases significantly? A. Predator numbers increase dramatically. B. The predator-prey cycle. In a predator-prey interaction, what happens when the prey population decreases significantly? A. Predator numbers increase dramatically. B. The predator-prey cycle stabilizes. C. Predator numbers decrease due to a lack of food. D. Predator numbers continue to increase at a constant rate. Answer. C. Predator numbers decrease due to a lack of food. Explanation. If prey becomes scarce, predator populations decline because food availability is limited, leading to a decrease in their numbers over time. Q3 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2020. Which of the following is an example of mutualism? A. Lion hunting a zebra. B. Orchid growing on the branches of a tree without harming the tree. C. Mycorrhizal fungi exchanging nutrients with plant roots. D. Barnacles on a whale. Answer. C. Mycorrhizal fungi exchanging nutrients with plant roots. Explanation. This represents mutualism, as both the fungi and plants benefit. Fungi get sugars, and plants get nutrients. Conclusion. Predation regulates prey populations, shaping ecosystem dynamics. Competition drives species interactions and community structure, with resource partitioning enabling coexistence. Mutualism benefits both species, playing key roles in processes like pollination and nutrient cycling. Commensalism involves one species benefiting without affecting the other, impacting species distribution. Population interactions are a cornerstone of community ecology, contributing significantly to species diversity and ecosystem health. This completes population interactions. Let me know if you're ready for the next topic. Heart. You said, yeah. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Population ecology, growth models 1. Detailed lecture. Population growth is a central concept in ecology, describing how the number of individuals in a population changes over time. The mathematical models that explain these changes are crucial for understanding population dynamics, resource use, and potential interactions with other species or environmental factors. The two main population growth models are the exponential growth model and the logistic growth model. Let's dive deeper into both. 1. Exponential growth model. The exponential growth model is the simplest and most idealized representation of population growth. It assumes that a population will grow at a constant rate of reproduction, with unlimited resources and no environmental constraints. Key formula, D. NDT equals R NDT dN. Equals R NN. N is the population size at time t. T, R. R is the intrinsic rate of increase, the per capita rate at which individuals are added to the population. D. NDT dt dN. Is the rate of change in population size. Key assumptions of the exponential model: resources, food, shelter are unlimited. No competition, predation, or disease significantly impact the population. The growth rate, R. R, remains constant over time. Growth dynamics. Exponential growth occurs when the population grows at an increasing rate over time, leading to a J-shaped curve in the population versus time graph. Early stages of growth exhibit rapid expansion, e.g., after colonization of a new habitat. In reality, most populations don't grow exponentially indefinitely because of environmental resistance, limited resources, predation, etc. 2. Logistic growth model. The logistic growth model addresses the limits of resources, resulting in a slowdown of growth as population size approaches the carrying capacity K of the environment. It provides a more realistic picture of population dynamics, particularly for species living in habitats with finite resources. Key formula, D. NDT equals Rn K minus Nk dt dN. Equals Rn K. K minus N, N. N is the population size. K. K is the carrying capacity, the maximum population size that the environment can support. R. R is the intrinsic growth rate. K. Minus NKK minus N. Represents the fraction of available resources relative to the environment's total capacity, slowing growth as N. N approaches K. K. Growth dynamics, when N. N is much smaller than K. K, the equation behaves like the exponential growth model. As N. N approaches K. K, the growth rate decreases, and the population levels off at K. K. The result is an S-shaped curve, sigmoidal growth curve, that represents how growth slows and stabilizes as it nears the environment's carrying capacity. Key assumptions of the logistic model. There are limited resources: food, shelter, mates. The environment has a finite capacity for supporting the population. As the population nears K. K, competition and resource depletion increase, slowing the growth rate. 3. Other growth models and modifications. Metapopulation model describes populations existing in fragmented landscapes, emphasizing immigration and extinction dynamics between habitat patches. Saturated growth model, a variation of logistic growth, which assumes density-dependent factors more directly shape population regulation. Age-structured models. These models take age-specific reproduction and mortality rates into account. Such models are vital when considering the structure of populations that have different survival and reproductive rates at different life stages. Real-world examples of growth models. Exponential growth example. Bacteria in a petri dish. When first introduced into a nutrient-rich environment, bacteria grow exponentially. They will continue growing as long as nutrients are available and no limiting factors, like toxins or space, occur. Logistic growth example. White-tailed deer in a forest. Initially, as the deer population begins to grow in a new area, they experience exponential growth. Over time, food availability, space, and predation limit growth, and the population levels off, reflecting a typical logistic curve. Over time, food availability, space, and predation limit growth, and the population levels off, reflecting a typical logistic curve. Overexploitation and collapse. Overfishing can cause an exponentially growing fish population to decline rapidly. Such population crashes are seen in nature when exploitation exceeds the population's ability to reproduce. 4. Previous year's GATE questions on growth models. GATE Ecology and Evolution 2018, which of the following best describes a logistic growth model? A. The population grows exponentially until resources are exhausted. B. The population grows rapidly in the beginning and then levels off at carrying capacity. C. The population grows at a constant rate indefinitely. D. The population grows until reaching the maximum level, at which it declines. Answer: B. The population grows rapidly in the beginning and then levels off at carrying capacity. Explanation: this accurately describes logistic growth, where the population initially grows exponentially and later levels off as it approaches the carrying capacity. Q2 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2020, in an exponential growth model, the intrinsic rate of increase R of a population is A. Constant. B. Variable and depends on environmental factor. C. Equal to 0 at high population densities. D. Proportional to the carrying capacity. Answer: B. Variable and depends on environmental factors. Explanation: in exponential growth, R. The intrinsic rate depends on various environmental and biological factors, such as food availability, temperature, and space. Q3 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2019, in the logistic growth equation. D. NDT equals RNK minus NK dTdN equals RNK. K minus N. What does the term K minus NK K minus NK represent? A. The birth rate. B. The resource availability relative to the carrying capacity. C. The mortality rate. D. The number of individuals in the population at a specific time. Answer: B. The resource availability relative to the carrying capacity. Explanation: the term K minus NKK minus N represents the fraction of available resources left as the population N. N approaches the carrying capacity K, which leads to a slowing of population growth. 5. Conclusion. Exponential growth describes an ideal scenario with unlimited resources, leading to rapid, unsustainable growth. The population grows indefinitely without environmental checks, resulting in a J-shaped curve. Logistic growth provides a more realistic scenario by including environmental limits and carrying capacity. The population follows an S-shaped curve, which begins with rapid growth and slows as resources become limited. Other models, metapopulation dynamics and age-structured models further describe populations in fragmented environments or with varying life history strategies. This concludes population growth model. Let me know if you're ready for the next topic or need further elaboration. Heart. You said, next. ChatGPT said. Population ecology, population regulation 1. Detailed lecture. Population regulation refers to the processes and mechanisms that limit or control the size of a population in a given environment. These mechanisms can be either density-dependent or density-independent, and they play a crucial role in maintaining balance within ecosystems. Understanding population regulation helps explain how populations grow, stabilize, or even decline over time. 1. Density-dependent regulation. Density-dependent regulation refers to factors whose effects on population growth depend on the density of the population itself. As the population density increases, the effect of these factors becomes more pronounced, often leading to a decrease in growth rate or even a decline in population size. These factors include competition, predation, disease, and territoriality. Key density-dependent factors. Competition for resources. When a population's density increases, individuals must compete for the same limited resources, e.g., food, water, shelter. As the 1. Density-dependent regulation. Density-dependent regulation refers to factors whose effects on population growth depend on the density of the population itself. As the population density increases, the effect of these factors becomes more pronounced, often leading to a decrease in growth rate or even a decline in population size. These factors include competition, predation, disease, and territoriality. Key density-dependent factors. Competition for resources. When a population's density increases, individuals must compete for the same limited resources, e.g., food, water, shelter. Increased competition typically results in a lower birth rate and a higher death rate. Example, in dense populations of deer, for instance, individuals may suffer from food shortages, leading to malnutrition and reduced reproduction rates. Predation. The risk of being preyed upon may increase as population density grows. Dense prey populations attract more predators, leading to higher predation rates that can limit population size. Example, if a population of rabbits grows too large, predators such as wolves or foxes may have easier access to prey, lowering the rabbit population. Disease transmission. In dense populations, the transmission of diseases can spread more rapidly due to close contact between individuals. Outbreaks of diseases can reduce population size, especially if the population has limited immunity. Example, in a dense population of rodents, diseases such as plague can spread more easily, leading to significant population declines. Territoriality. As population density increases, there may be more conflict over territory. Individuals may defend their space more aggressively, and territorial behavior can limit reproduction if individuals are unable to establish or defend territories. Example, male lions in a pride compete for territories. As the number of males increases, competition for access to mates can lead to decreased reproductive success for some individuals. 2. Density-independent regulation. Contrast. Density-independent regulation refers to factors that affect population size regardless of its density. These factors are typically environmental or physical and can cause dramatic reductions in population size regardless of how large or small the population is. They include events such as weather conditions, natural disasters, and human activity. Key density-independent factors. Weather events. Harsh weather, such as floods, droughts, and extreme temperatures, can have significant impacts on populations, independent of their size. These events can kill individuals directly or disrupt food resources. Example, a severe cold winter can reduce the size of populations of species like frogs, independent of how many frogs were in the population. Natural disasters. Events like hurricanes, wildfires, or volcanic eruptions can destroy habitats or directly kill individuals. These events typically reduce populations irrespective of density. Example, a wildfire might decimate a forest ecosystem, killing both predators and prey, leading to a population crash. Human impact. Human activities such as deforestation, pollution, and climate change can also regulate populations by reducing habitat availability, introducing toxins, or altering ecosystems in ways that harm wildlife. Example, overfishing can rapidly decrease fish populations regardless of their density, as the number of individuals may fall drastically due to human exploitation. 3. Examples of population regulation in nature. The snowshoe hare and lynx example, density-dependent regulation. The predator-prey interaction between snowshoe hares and lynx is a classic example of density-dependent regulation. As the hare population increases, it attracts more lynx predators, leading to an increase in predation pressure. Consequently, the hare population is reduced, leading to a decline in lynx populations. Once lynx numbers drop, the hare population can begin to recover, starting the cycle again. Forest trees density-dependent regulation. In dense forests, trees compete for light, water, and nutrients. As trees increase in density, growth slows due to resource limitations, which can increase tree mortality rates and affect recruitment of new trees. Insect populations density-independent regulation. Insects, like locusts, can face massive population crashes due to factors like droughts, fires, or extreme weather, regardless of how dense the population is. These events can lead to widespread mortality, reducing population sizes dramatically. 4. The role of regulation in ecosystem balance. Effective population regulation ensures that no species dominates an ecosystem unchecked, and resources are used sustainably. Regulation prevents overpopulation, which would otherwise lead to resource depletion and eventual collapse. It also ensures biodiversity is maintained by allowing other species to thrive without being outcompeted. Carrying capacity and regulation. The concept of carrying capacity refers to the maximum population size that an environment can sustainably support. Regulatory factors, both density-dependent and density-independent, interact to prevent populations from exceeding carrying capacity. If a species exceeds its carrying capacity, it can experience resource depletion, a rise in mortality, and eventually population decline. 5. Previous year's GATE questions on population regulation. Q1 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2020. Which of the following factors is an example of density-dependent regulation? A. Earthquake. B. Disease outbreak. C. Flood. D. Severe drought. Answer: B. Disease outbreak. Explanation. Disease outbreaks spread more easily when population density is high, making them a density-dependent factor that regulates population size. Q2 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2018. A. Earthquake. B. Q1 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2020. Which of the following factors is an example of density-dependent regulation? A. Earthquake. B. Disease outbreak. C. Flood. D. Severe drought. Answer: B. Disease outbreak. Explanation. Disease outbreaks spread more easily when population density is high, making them a density-dependent factor that regulates population size. Q2 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2018. Which of the following is not a density-independent factor affecting population regulation? A. Climate change. B. Natural disasters. C. Disease transmission. D. Predation. Answer: C. Disease transmission. Explanation. Disease transmission is a density-dependent factor, as it depends on how closely individuals are packed together. The other options, climate change, natural disasters, are density-independent. Q3 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2016. In a population exhibiting density-dependent regulation, as the population increases, the birth rate will typically A. Increase. B. Stay constant. C. Decrease. D. Fluctuate without any trend. Answer: C. Decrease. Explanation. As density increases, competition for resources intensifies, reducing reproductive success and leading to a decrease in the birth rate. 6. Conclusion. Density-dependent factors, competition, predation, disease, and territoriality regulate populations by increasing mortality rates or decreasing birth rates as population density increases. Density-independent factors, natural disasters, weather events, and human-induced factors such as pollution affect population size irrespective of population density. Population regulation is essential for maintaining ecological balance and preventing unsustainable population growth that could lead to resource depletion and species extinctions. This concludes the topic of population regulation. Feel free to let me know when you're ready for the next topic. Heart. You said, next. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Community ecology, species interactions 1. Detailed lecture. Species interactions are fundamental in community ecology, as they help shape the structure, diversity, and functioning of ecosystems. The interactions between species can be positive, negative, or neutral, and understanding these interactions allows ecologists to predict the outcomes of species coexistence, resource distribution, and ecosystem dynamics. The primary types of species interactions include competition, predation, mutualism, commensalism, and amensalism. 1. Competition. Competition occurs when two or more species in a community rely on the same limited resources, such as food, light, or space. It is typically a negative-negative interaction, where both species suffer because they must compete for the resource. There are two main forms of competition. Interspecific competition, between individuals of different species. Interspecific competition, between individuals of the same species. Key outcomes of competition. Resource partitioning. To avoid direct competition, species may evolve to exploit different resources or use the same resources at different times or locations. Niche differentiation. Competitive exclusion. If one species outcompetes another for the same resource, the weaker species may be driven to extinction or forced into a smaller niche. Competitive exclusion principle. The competitive exclusion principle, formulated by Gause, states that two species competing for the same resources cannot coexist indefinitely. One will always outcompete the other. Example. In the intertidal zone, Shtamalus barnacles are better able to live in the upper tidal zone, while Balanus barnacles prefer the lower part. When Balanus is excluded from its optimal zone due to Shtamalus success, we see niche partitioning that allows both species to coexist. 2. Predation. Predation is an interaction where one organism, the predator, kills and consumes another organism, the prey. Predation is a key factor in natural selection, shaping the evolution of both predator and prey populations. Predator-prey dynamics. Adaptations of predators, such as speed, camouflage, and specialized hunting mechanisms that increase their efficiency in capturing prey. Adaptations of prey, such as defense mechanisms like camouflage, toxins, armor e.g., shells in mollusks, or behavioral tactics e.g., fleeing or mobbing. Examples. Lynx and snowshoe hare. The population sizes of lynx predators and snowshoe hare's prey are interlinked. When hare populations increase, lynx populations grow due to increased food availability. Once lynx populations reach a peak, they reduce the hare population, resulting in a decrease in lynx numbers. This leads to oscillations in both species population sizes. 3. Mutualism. Mutualism is a type of interaction in which both species benefit from the relationship. These interactions can be obligate, necessary for survival, or facultative, beneficial but not essential. Types of mutualism. Trophic mutualism. One species provides food for the other, and in return, the other provides food or a service. Example, lichens are mutualistic partnerships between fungi and algae. The fungus provides a structure for the algae to grow on, and the algae perform photosynthesis to produce food for both organisms. Defensive mutualism. One species provides protection, while the other provides food or shelter. Example, ants in acacia trees. The ants protect the tree from herbivores by attacking them, and in return, they feed on nectar produced by the tree and use its thorns as a nesting site. 4. Commensalism. Commensalism is an interaction where one species benefits while the other is neither helped nor harmed. In this relationship, one organism gains resources, habitat, or protection without affecting the other species. Examples. Barnacles on a whale. Barnacles attach to the skin of a whale and gain access to nutrient-rich waters as the whale moves through the ocean. The whale experiences no significant benefit or harm from the presence of the barnacles. Cattle egrets and livestock. Cattle egrets often follow large herbivores and feed on insects disturbed by their movement. The herbivores are not affected by the presence of the egrets. 5. Amensalism. Amensalism is an interaction where one species is harmed, and the other is unaffected. Amensalism can be a result of the production of toxic chemicals, physical crushing, or other inhibitory processes. Examples. Penicillium fungus and bacteria. The fungus Penicillium secretes penicillin, a substance that inhibits the growth of certain bacteria. While the bacteria are harmed, the fungus is unaffected by its own secretion. Large trees shading smaller plants. Taller trees with extensive canopy cover can prevent smaller plants from receiving adequate light, thus limiting their growth. The large trees are not harmed by this shading, and the smaller plants suffer. 6. Examples of species interactions in communities. Plant-pollinator relationships. Mutualism. Bees and flowers have a mutualistic relationship where the bees collect nectar from flowers for food, and in the process, pollinate the flowers, facilitating reproduction for the plants. Predator-prey interactions. Predation. The relationship between sharks, predators, and seals, prey, illustrates the dynamics of predation, where the sharks hunt and consume seals. Over time, seals evolve better ways to evade predators, influencing shark hunting strategies. Cleaner fish and host fishes. Mutualism. In marine ecosystems, cleaner fish, e.g., cleaner wrasse, feed on ectoparasites of larger fish species, the host. The host fish benefit from reduced parasite load, while the cleaner fish get a free meal. 7. Previous year's GATE questions on species interactions. Q1, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2021. In a mutualistic relationship between a bee and a flower, what do both species benefit from? A. Bees get nectar, and flowers get pollinated. B. Bees get protection, and flowers get shelter. C. Bees get space for nesting, and flowers get nectar. D. Bees provide shelter, and flowers offer a habitat. Answer. A. Bees get nectar, and flowers get pollinated. Explanation. This represents a classic example of mutualism where the bee benefits from nectar and helps the flower by pollinating it. Q2, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2019, which of the following is an example of amensalism? A. Barnacles on the shells of crabs. B. Lichens on trees. C. Penicillium fungus releasing antibiotics that harm surrounding bacteria. D. Cleaner fish eating parasites off larger fish. Answer. C. Penicillium fungus releasing antibiotics that harm surrounding bacteria. Explanation. Penicillium inhibits bacterial growth without benefiting from its effect on the bacteria, hence it is amensalism. Q3, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2017, which of the following best illustrates interspecific competition? A. A lion and a tiger competing for the same territory. B. A wolf and a rabbit in a predator-prey relationship. C. A bee and a flower in a mutualistic relationship. D. A fish and a bird feeding on the same insect. Answer. A. A lion and a tiger competing for the same territory. Explanation. The lions and tigers are competing for the same resources, which is a classic example of interspecific competition. 8. Conclusion. Species interactions form the foundation of community structure and ecosystem functioning. Each type of interaction has evolutionary implications for both the species involved. Competition can result in the exclusion of one species. Predation drives adaptations on both predator and prey, while mutualism, commensalism, and amensalism shape relationships that may influence individual survival and community dynamics. This concludes the topic of species interactions in community ecology. Let me know when you're ready for the next topic. Heart. You said, next. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Ecosystem ecology, energy flow and trophic levels 1. Detailed lecture. Ecosystem ecology is the study of the flow of energy and the cycling of matter within ecosystems. One of the fundamental concepts within this field is understanding how energy is transferred through various trophic levels and the mechanisms that regulate these processes. The trophic structure of an ecosystem refers to the hierarchical levels within a food chain, from primary producers at the base to apex predators at the top. Energy flows through these levels, with significant losses at each step due to factors like metabolism and heat dissipation. 2. Trophic levels. Trophic levels represent the feeding positions within a food web, with each level signifying an energy transfer through consumption. The main trophic levels include producers, autotrophs, primary consumers, herbivores, secondary consumers, carnivores, and tertiary consumers, apex predators. Key trophic levels, primary producers, autotrophs. At the base of any food chain are autotrophs, organisms that can synthesize their own food using sunlight, in the case of plants, algae, and some bacteria, or chemical energy, in the case of certain bacteria. These organisms perform photosynthesis or chemosynthesis to convert solar energy into chemical energy stored in organic compounds. Example, grass, algae, and plants are primary producers in most ecosystems. Primary consumers, herbivores. These organisms feed directly on primary producers. They are typically herbivores, although some omnivores also fit this level. Example, rabbits, deer, and insects are herbivores that consume plants, algae, or detritus. Secondary consumers, carnivores or omnivores. These are carnivores that feed on primary consumers. Some omnivores also occupy this level as they feed on both plants and animals. Example, lions and wolves, which eat herbivores, and some birds like crows, which are omnivores. Tertiary consumers, apex predators. These are apex predators at the top of the food chain and typically have no natural predators. They often regulate the populations of secondary consumers. Example, eagles, great white sharks, and humans can be considered tertiary consumers. 3. Energy flow in ecosystems. Energy enters an ecosystem primarily through the solar energy absorbed by primary producers. However, not all the energy is passed along to higher trophic levels due to inefficiencies in the energy transfer. Key concepts: energy transfer efficiency. In any trophic transfer, only about 10% of the energy is passed to the next trophic level according to the 10% rule. The remaining 90% is lost mainly as heat during metabolic processes, waste products, or through respiration. This is a key reason why ecosystems can support a larger number of primary producers compared to higher level consumers. Example: if plants capture 1 kcal of sunlight, herbivores might consume 100 kilocalories of plant biomass, and carnivores might consume only 10 kilocalories of that herbivore's energy. Trophic pyramid. This inefficiency in energy transfer leads to the familiar shape of an energy pyramid, which shows how energy diminishes at each successive trophic level. Primary producers form the base, and the number of individuals typically decreases at higher trophic levels. Example: in a terrestrial ecosystem, the total biomass energy content decreases from plants to herbivores, and further decreases to carnivores and apex predators. Decomposers. Decomposers, bacteria, fungi, and detritivores break down dead organic matter from all trophic levels, releasing nutrients back into the environment to be reused by primary producers. Although they do not have a specific trophic level designation in some models, they play an essential role in nutrient cycling. 4. The 10% rule of energy transfer. The 10% rule of energy transfer is a guideline used to estimate the amount of energy available at each trophic level. Essentially, when energy is passed from one trophic level to the next, e.g., from primary producers to primary consumers, approximately 90% of the energy is lost as heat due to respiration, metabolism, or waste production, and only 10% is passed on. Mathematical representation. If a producer in an ecosystem like grass produces 1000 kcal of energy, the herbivore, such as a rabbit consuming this grass, will only gain 100 kilocalories, and the carnivore, such as a fox eating the rabbit, would obtain only 10 kilocalories of energy from the initial 1000 kcal produced by the plants. 5. Efficiency of energy flow and ecosystem productivity. Gross primary productivity, GPP, is the total energy captured by primary producers in an ecosystem through photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. However, some of this energy is used by producers for their own growth, metabolism, and reproduction. The energy available for higher trophic levels is defined as net primary productivity, NPP, which is the energy left over after producers use what they need for their metabolism. Equation: NPP equals GPP, respiration, R. Ecosystem productivity refers to the rate at which energy is incorporated into new biomass by organisms. An ecosystem's productivity is typically higher when it has an abundant supply of light and nutrients. 6. Examples of energy flow. Grassland ecosystem. In grasslands, energy begins with plants, primary producers, which are consumed by herbivores like zebras, primary consumers. Zebras are then eaten by lions, secondary consumers, and energy moves upward through each trophic level, gradually diminishing. Marine ecosystem. In the ocean, phytoplankton serve as primary producers and are eaten by zooplankton, primary consumers, which in turn are consumed by fish, secondary consumers. At the top of the food chain, killer whales serve as apex predators. Tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforests are highly productive, with dense vegetation as primary producers. This energy is consumed by a variety of herbivores, monkeys, insects, which in turn are preyed upon by predators, eagles, jaguars. The food web here is highly complex due to high species diversity. 7. Previous year's GATE questions on energy flow and trophic levels. Q1, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2019. In an ecosystem, 200 kilocalories of solar energy is captured by primary producers. If the efficiency of energy transfer at each trophic level is 10%, how much energy will be available to the secondary consumers? A. 20 kilocalories. B. 2 kilocalories. C. 0.2 kilocalories. D. 200 kilocalories. Answer: B. 2 kilocalories. Explanation. First transfer, primary producers to primary consumers, 200 kilocalories times 10% equals 20 kilocalories. Second transfer, primary consumers to secondary consumers, 20 kilocalories times 10% equals 2 kcal. Q2, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2018. Which following is the correct sequence of energy flow in a food chain? A. Producer, right pointing arrow, herbivore, right pointing arrow, carnivore, right pointing arrow, decomposer. B. Herbivore, right pointing arrow, producer, right pointing arrow, carnivore, right pointing arrow, decomposer. C. Producer, right pointing arrow, carnivore, right pointing arrow, herbivore, right pointing arrow, decomposer. D. Carnivore, right pointing arrow, producer, right pointing arrow, herbivore, right pointing arrow, decomposer. Answer: a producer, right pointing arrow, herbivore, right pointing arrow, carnivore, right pointing arrow, decomposer. Explanation. Energy flows in a food chain from producers, autotrophs, to herbivores, primary consumers, then to carnivores, secondary consumers, and finally to decomposers, which break down dead organisms to recycle nutrients back into the system. Q3, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2017. Which of the following processes explains why energy is lost as it moves up trophic levels? A. Respiration and decomposition. B. Photosynthesis and consumption. C. Cellular respiration and heat dissipation. D. Nitrification and denitrification. Answer. See cellular respiration and heat dissipation explanation. Energy is lost as heat during cellular respiration and through metabolic processes as organisms convert food into usable energy. A. Conclusion. Trophic levels. Energy flows from primary producers to apex consumers, with each step involving a decrease in available energy due to inefficiencies in energy transfer. 10% energy transfer rule. Only about 10% of the energy is passed along to the next trophic level, with the rest dissipated as heat are used in metabolism. Primary productivity, gross primary productivity (GPP), and net primary productivity (NPP) measure the energy captured by ecosystems and available to consumers. Energy flow efficiency. Energy transfer is far more efficient at lower trophic levels, while higher levels depend on available biomass. This concludes the topic of energy flow and trophic levels in ecosystem ecology. Let me know when you're ready to continue. Heart. You said, next. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Biogeochemical cycles, carbon, nitrogen, and water 1. Detailed lecture. Biogeochemical cycles describe the continuous movement of elements and compounds within and between ecosystems. These cycles are essential for the flow of nutrients necessary for the survival of all life forms. The three primary biogeochemical cycles are the carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and water cycle. These cycles involve biological, geological, and chemical processes, and their understanding is crucial for grasping ecosystem dynamics, climate change, and environmental management. 2. The carbon cycle. Carbon is a fundamental building block of life, and the carbon cycle describes how carbon is exchanged among the atmosphere, oceans, soil, and living organisms. Carbon exists in the ecosystem in various forms, including carbon dioxide (CO2) in the atmosphere, organic carbon in living organisms, and inorganic carbon in minerals and fossil fuels. Key steps in the carbon cycle: photosynthesis. Primary producers, such as plants and algae, absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and convert it into organic compounds, like glucose, using the energy from sunlight. Respiration. Both plants and animals use cellular respiration to break down organic molecules, releasing carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere or water. Decomposition. When organisms die, decomposers bacteria, fungi break down their organic material, releasing carbon back into the soil and atmosphere. Fossilization. Some organic matter, e.g., dead plants, animals, does not decompose fully and is buried, over time forming fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas, which release carbon when burned. Carbon sequestration. Carbon is stored in the oceans and soil, where it can be locked away for long periods. Forests act as a carbon sink, absorbing more carbon than they release through photosynthesis and respiration. Human impact on the carbon cycle. The combustion of fossil fuels for energy, deforestation, and industrial activities have led to an increase in atmospheric CO2, contributing to global warming. This excess carbon leads to enhanced greenhouse effect and climate change. 3. The nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is a critical element for all living organisms, as it is a component of amino acids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Despite making up about 78% of Earth's atmosphere, most organisms cannot directly use nitrogen in its diatomic molecular form, N2, so it must be converted into usable forms like nitrate, number 3, and ammonium, NH4+. Key steps in the nitrogen cycle: nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria convert atmospheric nitrogen, N2, into ammonia, NH3, or ammonium, NH4+, which can then be used by plants. These bacteria may live freely in the soil, free living, or in symbiosis with plant roots, e.g., rhizobium and legumes. Nitrification. This is the process by which ammonia is first converted to nitrite, number 2, and then to nitrate, number 3, by nitrifying bacteria, e.g., Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter. Assimilation. Plants absorb nitrogen primarily in the form of nitrate from the soil, incorporating it into plant tissues. Herbivores then consume these plants, and nitrogen is passed into their systems. Ammonification, mineralization. When organisms excrete waste or die, nitrogen compounds are broken down by decomposers, e.g., bacteria and fungi, releasing ammonia back into the soil. Denitrification. In anoxic, oxygen-lacking conditions, certain bacteria convert nitrate back into nitrogen gas, N2, which is released back into the atmosphere, completing the cycle. Human impact on the nitrogen cycle. Human activities, such as the use of synthetic fertilizers, livestock farming, and industrial processes, significantly alter the nitrogen cycle. The excess nitrogen from fertilizers and animal waste can lead to eutrophication of water bodies, causing algal blooms, oxygen depletion, and loss of biodiversity. 4. The water cycle. Water is vital to all living organisms in the water cycle. Hydrological cycle is the process by which water circulates through the ecosystem. This cycle involves multiple stages, with water being transferred between the atmosphere, terrestrial ecosystems, and water bodies. Key steps in the water cycle: evaporation. Water is converted from liquid to vapor primarily from oceans, lakes, rivers, and soil. This vapor rises into the atmosphere. Transpiration. Water is also released into the atmosphere through transpiration from plant surfaces, especially leaves, as part of the plant's metabolic processes. Condensation. Water vapor in the atmosphere cools and condenses into liquid or solid forms, like clouds and precipitation. Precipitation. Water returns to Earth's surface as rain, snow, or hail. This water replenishes surface and groundwater resources. Infiltration and percolation. Some of the precipitation infiltrates into the soil, where it may move through the ground via percolation. It recharges groundwater reserves. Runoff. Water that cannot infiltrate the soil runs off over the land surface into rivers, streams, and oceans, ultimately returning to large bodies of water, continuing the cycle. Human impact on the water cycle. Deforestation, urbanization, and agriculture disrupt the water cycle, particularly with regard to evapotranspiration, groundwater recharge, and water runoff. Over-extraction of groundwater, pollution of water bodies, and altered precipitation patterns due to climate change can affect water availability and quality. 5. Previous year's GATE questions on biogeochemical cycles Q1, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2020. In the nitrogen cycle, what is the process that converts ammonia, NH3, into nitrate, number 3? A. Nitrogen fixation. B. Nitrification. C. Denitrification. D. Ammonification. Answer. B. Nitrification. Explanation. Nitrification is a microbial process that converts ammonia to nitrate via 2 steps, conversion of ammonia to nitrite, and then nitrite to nitrate, carried out by nitrifying bacteria. Q2, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2019. Which of the following processes in the nitrogen cycle is primarily carried out by rhizobium bacteria? A. Denitrification. B. Nitrogen fixation. C. Nitrification. D. Ammonification. Answer. B. Nitrogen fixation. Explanation. Rhizobium bacteria are involved in nitrogen fixation. They live in symbiosis with leguminous plants, converting atmospheric nitrogen, N2, into a usable form, ammonia, which plants can incorporate into amino acids and proteins. Q3, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2018. In the carbon cycle, which of the following processes results in the conversion of carbon dioxide, CO2, into organic molecules? A. Respiration. B. Fossilization. C. Photosynthesis. D. Decomposition. Answer. C. Photosynthesis. Explanation. Photosynthesis is the process by which primary producers, like plants, convert carbon dioxide, CO2, and sunlight into organic molecules, such as glucose, using the energy of sunlight. 6. Conclusion. Carbon cycle. Key processes like photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition, and fossilization govern the flow of carbon within ecosystems. Human activities have dramatically increased atmospheric CO2, impacting global climate systems. Nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen transformation is essential for plant and animal nutrition. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria, nitrification, assimilation, and denitrification are fundamental processes. Excess nitrogen from fertilizers can lead to environmental issues like eutrophication. Water cycle. Water moves through the environment via evaporation, transpiration, condensation, precipitation, infiltration, and runoff. Human activities, such as deforestation and water extraction, disrupt this natural cycle. These biogeochemical cycles are integral to maintaining ecosystem balance, nutrient cycling, and the availability of essential resources for life. This concludes the topic of biogeochemical cycles, carbon, nitrogen, and water. Let me know if you'd like to continue further. Heart. You said, fast forward. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Ecosystem structure and function 1. Detailed lecture. Ecosystem is a functional unit in nature where living organisms, biotic components, interact with one another and with non-living components, abiotic components, to form a self-sustaining system. Understanding ecosystem structure and function is fundamental to studying ecology, as these elements determine the flow of energy and matter, which supports life. 2. Ecosystem structure. The structure of an ecosystem refers to the components that make up the system. These include abiotic components, producers, autotrophs. Autotrophs are organisms that produce their own food through photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. Plants, algae, and some bacteria are the primary producers in an ecosystem. They form the foundation of the food chain by converting sunlight into chemical energy. Consumers, heterotrophs. Heterotrophs are organisms that cannot produce their own food and rely on consuming other organisms for energy. They can be divided into primary consumers, herbivores that feed directly on plants. Secondary consumers, carnivores that feed on herbivores. Tertiary consumers, top predators that feed on secondary consumers. Decomposers, organisms like fungi, bacteria, and some animals that break down dead organic material, returning nutrients to the soil. B. Abiotic components. Water. Water is essential for life, facilitating biochemical reactions and transportation of nutrients. Soil. Soil composition affects plant growth. Different ecosystems have various soil types with differing nutrient contents and pH. Temperature. Temperature regulates metabolic processes in organisms. It defines the climate of an ecosystem. Light. Light influences photosynthesis and primary production in ecosystems. The intensity and duration of light vary with latitude, altitude, and seasonal changes. Air. The gases present in the atmosphere, including oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen, are vital for respiratory and photosynthetic processes. 3. Ecosystem function. Ecosystem functions are the processes that occur within ecosystems, ensuring the cycling of energy, nutrients, and the maintenance of biodiversity. These functions include A. Energy flow. Primary production, productivity. The rate of production of new organic matter in an ecosystem is known as primary productivity. Primary producers, plants, algae convert solar energy into chemical energy, which is transferred through the ecosystem via herbivores and predators. Gross primary productivity, GPP, refers to the total amount of energy fixed by plants, while net primary productivity, NPP, is the energy available after subtracting the energy used by plants for respiration. Food chains and webs. In ecosystems, energy flows through food chains and food webs. Food chains are linear sequences in which organisms are connected through feeding relationships, e.g., grass right pointing arrow, rabbit right pointing arrow, fox. Food webs are more complex networks of interconnected food chains, illustrating how species can have multiple feeding relationships. Trophic levels. Each organism in a food chain occupies a trophic level. Producers, e.g., plants, algae, primary consumers, herbivores, secondary consumers, carnivores, tertiary consumers, apex predators, energy transfer. Energy decreases as it moves up trophic levels. On average, only 10% of the energy is passed from one trophic level to the next. This is known as the 10% energy rule. Most energy is lost as heat, respiration, and movement. B. Nutrient cycling, decomposition. Decomposers: bacteria, fungi, detritivores break down dead organic matter, recycling nutrients into the ecosystem. These nutrients are then available for primary producers to assimilate. Biogeochemical cycles. Key nutrients like carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, and water continuously cycle through the ecosystem, facilitating life processes. Nitrogen fixation. Specialized bacteria, such as rhizobium, convert atmospheric nitrogen, N2, into a usable form, ammonia, which plants can incorporate. Phosphorus cycle. The phosphorus cycle involves the movement of phosphorus through rocks, soil, water, and living organisms. Unlike the carbon and nitrogen cycles, phosphorus does not have a gas phase and is often a limiting factor for plant growth. Sulfur cycle. The sulfur cycle involves the movement of sulfur through the atmosphere, soil, and living organisms. Sulfur is released into the atmosphere through volcanic eruptions and the burning of fossil fuels. C. Regulation and stability. Ecological succession. Ecosystem function is influenced by succession, a gradual and predictable process where ecosystems evolve over time. There are two main types of succession. Primary succession occurs in newly formed or disturbed areas where no soil exists, e.g., volcanic islands. Secondary succession occurs in areas that have been disturbed but still have soil, e.g., after a forest fire. Resilience. Ecosystem resilience refers to an ecosystem's ability to withstand and recover from disturbances, such as storms, droughts, or human impacts. Biodiversity. Biodiversity supports ecosystem function by ensuring stability. The more diverse an ecosystem, the more likely it is to withstand disruptions. This is also known as the resilience hypothesis. 4. Human impact on ecosystem function. Human activities significantly influence ecosystem structure and function. Deforestation disrupts habitats, reduces carbon sequestration, and causes soil degradation. Pollution, air, water, soil can introduce toxic substances, affecting species and nutrient cycles. Climate change, driven by human-induced increases in greenhouse gases, is altering temperature and precipitation patterns, disrupting ecosystems worldwide. Agricultural activities impact nutrient cycling, water resources, and biodiversity. 5. Previous year's GATE questions on ecosystem structure and function. Q1, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2021. Which of the following is the primary driver of energy flow in an ecosystem? A. Water. B. Temperature. C. Sunlight. D. Soil. Answer: C. Sunlight. Explanation. Sunlight is the primary source of energy in ecosystems. Producers use light for photosynthesis, converting it into chemical energy, which sustains the food web. Q2, GATE Ecology and Evolution 2020. In an ecosystem, primary production is an indicator of A. The total biomass produced per year. B. The rate of solar energy assimilation. C. The rate at which producers convert solar energy into organic material. D. The total energy transfer from one trophic level to another. Answer: C. The rate at which producers convert solar energy into organic material. Explanation. Primary production refers to the process by which primary producers, plants, algae, capture solar energy and convert it into organic material, such as glucose, which becomes the basis for energy transfer through the food web. 3. GATE Ecology and Evolution 2019. Which of the following is a function of decomposers in an ecosystem? A. Generate energy for herbivores. B. Convert ammonia to nitrates. C. Break down organic matter into simpler substances. D. Absorb solar energy. Answer: C. Break down organic matter into simpler substances. Explanation. Decomposers like fungi and bacteria break down dead organic matter, recycling nutrients and returning them to the soil, making them available for producers. 6. Conclusion. Understanding ecosystem structure and function is crucial for recognizing how organisms interact with their environment and the cyclical processes that support life. Energy flows from the sun to producers, and then through consumers in a food chain, while nutrients cycle continuously. Human impacts like deforestation, pollution, and climate change challenge the stability and function of ecosystems, emphasizing the need for conservation and sustainable practices. Let me know if you need further information or clarification on any points. Heart. You said, fast forward. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Population Ecology 1, detailed lecture. Population ecology is a subdiscipline of ecology that focuses on the dynamics of species populations, their structure, interactions, and how they evolve in response to both biotic, living, and abiotic, non-living factors. Population ecology studies how population size and structure fluctuate over time due to various internal and external influences. Understanding these dynamics is essential for biodiversity conservation, management of natural resources, and studying evolutionary patterns. 2. Key concepts in population ecology. A. Population dynamics. Population dynamics describes the changes in the size, structure, and distribution of populations over time. This is influenced by several factors. Birth rate, natality, the number of births within a population during a given period. Death rate, mortality, the number of deaths within a population during a given period. Immigration, the movement of individuals into a population from other areas. Emigration, the movement of individuals out of a population to other areas. The population growth rate is determined by the balance between births, deaths, immigration, and emigration. This can be modeled using the exponential growth equation or logistic growth models. B. Exponential growth, R strategy. In an ideal environment with unlimited resources and no environmental pressures, such as predation or competition, populations can grow at a rapid, unrestricted rate. The growth rate is governed by the formula dN dt equals Rn. dN dt equals Rn where dN dt is the rate of change in population size over time. N is the population size. R is the intrinsic growth rate, birth rate minus death rate. Characteristics of R strategy. Rapid reproduction with high fecundity, many offspring. Little investment in individual offspring. Often seen in weeds or pests. C. Logistic growth, K. Strategy. As resources become limited due to factors such as space, food, or predation, population growth begins to slow down. The growth model then shifts to logistic growth, where population growth slows and stabilizes as the population reaches the carrying capacity of the environment. dN dt equals Rn, 1 minus Nk. dN dt equals Rn, 1 minus K. N. Where K is the carrying capacity, the maximum population size that the environment can support. Characteristics of K strategy. Few offspring are produced, but there is high parental investment in offspring. Typically found in large mammals and birds. D. Carrying capacity. The carrying capacity refers to the maximum number of individuals that a particular environment can sustain over a long period without degrading the habitat or resource base. Density-dependent factors. These include competition, predation, disease, and parasitism. As population density increases, these factors have a more significant effect on population size. Density-independent factors. These include environmental factors like temperature, natural disasters, or seasonal changes. These factors affect the population size regardless of density. 3. Population density and distribution. A. Population density. Population density refers to the number of individuals within a specific area or volume. It can be estimated by density equals number of individuals area or volume density equals area or volume number of individuals. High density can lead to competition for resources, disease spread, and social interactions, while low density may lead to limited opportunities for finding mates and dispersing to suitable habitats. B. Population distribution. Population distribution refers to how individuals are spaced within an area. Common patterns of population distribution are clumped. Individuals are clustered together, typically because of resource availability, e.g., around a water source or social behavior. Uniform. Individuals are evenly spaced due to territorial behavior or competition for resources. Random. There is no apparent pattern to the placement of individuals. This often occurs in uniform environments where resources are readily available. 4. Population interactions. A. Competition. Competition occurs when individuals or species vie for the same limited resources, such as food, space, or mates. It can have a significant impact on the structure of a population. Interspecific competition. Competition within the same species. Interspecific competition. Competition between different species. B. Predation and herbivora. Predation refers to an interaction where one species, the predator, kills and consumes another species, the prey. Herbivora refers to the consumption of plant material by herbivores, which can influence plant population dynamics and community structure. C. Mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. Mutualism, a symbiotic relationship where both species benefit, e.g., pollination by bees. Commensalism, a relationship where one species benefits and the other is neither helped nor harmed, e.g., birds using trees for shelter. Parasitism, a relationship where one species benefits at the expense of another, e.g., parasites infecting hosts. 5. Previous year's GATE questions on population ecology. Q1 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2022. Which of the following best describes the growth pattern of a population when resources are unlimited and there are no environmental constraints? Exponential growth. B. Logistic growth. C. Cyclic growth. D. Fluctuating growth. Answer. A. Exponential growth. Explanation. In conditions of unlimited resources and no environmental constraints, populations exhibit exponential growth, as there are no limiting factors causing growth to slow. Q2 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2021. A population of bacteria starts with 100 individuals. After 5 hours, the population reaches 1,600 individuals. If the population grows exponentially, what is the intrinsic growth rate R? R of the population. A. 0.56 B, 0.80 C, 1.5 D, 1.7. Answer. B. 0.80. Explanation. Exponential growth can be modeled by the equation n equals n0 ERT n equals n0 ERT, where n0 is the initial population size 100 n is the final population size 1,600 r. R is the intrinsic growth rate, t. T is time, 5 hours. Solving the equation gives R approximately equals 0.80 R approximately equals 0.80. Q3 GATE Ecology and Evolution 2020. In logistic growth, when the population size is at half the carrying capacity, the rate of growth will A. Decrease. B. Increase exponentially. C. B. 0. D. Be at its maximum. Answer. D. Be at its maximum. Explanation. In logistic growth, the growth rate is maximized when the population size is at half the carrying capacity K. At this point, D. N. dt. D. N. dt is at its highest, as resources are still abundant but not yet fully limited. 6. Conclusion. Population ecology helps to understand how populations interact with their environment, evolve over time, and regulate their size. Key concepts such as exponential growth, logistic growth, carrying capacity, competition, and predation shape the structure and dynamics of populations. Understanding these concepts is essential for ecological studies and biodiversity conservation. Let me know if you'd like to explore the next topic or have further questions. Heart. You said, next. ChatGPT said, ChatGPT. Community Ecology 1, Detailed Lecture. Community ecology is the study of how populations of different species interact within a given habitat and the ecological processes that structure these interactions. These interactions determine community dynamics, biodiversity, species distributions, and ecological balances. Community ecology thus helps in understanding how diverse species coexist and how environmental factors shape their relationships. 2. Key concepts in community ecology. A. Definition of a community. A community refers to all the populations of different species living and interacting within a specified area. The boundaries of communities are defined by physical and environmental factors such as climate, habitat, and geographical location.